Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Now we turn our attention to the whole question of emotional intelligence. And I ask the question, is it possible to raise a more intelligent, emotionally intelligent generation? Is that even remotely possible? Well, one man knows the answers to that because he has an opportunity for all of us to find out for ourselves how to do so. He's Tony Olton, who is the principal consultant of the Potter Center, founder chairman of the Caribbean Institute for Social and Emotional Learning. Tony, good morning to you.
Good morning, Payson. Top of the morning. Always good to see you.
You
Especially
too.
good to see you in your element.
In my element. You should see me at home. That's also my element. But listen, you know, Tony, for a long time, you have been almost like the lone voice in the wilderness talking about emotional intelligence for so long. And so this, no doubt, is a passion of yours. And so the question is, can we raise a more emotionally intelligent generation? You say?
I say yes, a resounding yes. And I say an absolute necessity. Barbados is currently in a place of significant crisis. And we have sought to mount all kinds of responses, all well intended. The challenge is that we have not yet got a fix on the importance that emotions play in our lives. That the reality is that as smart as we think we are, as lettered, as many initials as we have behind our names, at the end of the day, we make decisions fundamentally on the basis of an emotion or a mix of emotions. But we've not studied, we've not learned the language of emotions. And emotions are a universal language. What do I mean by that? We all know sadness. We all know joy. We all know peace, happiness, regret, guilt, shame. We all share commonality in the experience of our emotions. What is different is our ability to recognize, use, and manage, well, understand and manage those emotions.
A lot of times we call those emotions, or anyone who seeks to get in touch with their emotions, soft. And so
Yes.
we have to unlearn that paradigm and shift it to another paradigm. And I always say, you know, you can't stop, you have to keep going, so therefore you replace. And how do you go about now replacing this negative connotation of what emotions are and emotional intelligence with a more positive?
Right. So you have to recognize that emotions are neither negative nor positive, good nor bad. They just are. The example I use is that of the light that comes on when the gas in your car is low. That is a signal to you. It gives you information, and you get to make a decision on the basis of that information. So when my light comes on, I know I can probably get another 10 kilometers, 5 kilometers, whatever the number is. So I can decide, you know, do I risk this trip, or do I find myself to the nearest service station? Emotions exist and work on exactly and precisely the same basis. Your emotions tell you what is going on with you. And as you develop that awareness and sensitivity about your own emotions, then it predisposes you to be what the term is empathic. That is to be able to read and understand what is going on with the other person, and then be able to engage with that shared language. Just as we speak English or French or Spanish, we can speak the language of emotions because we understand our emotions, and it's a language that all of us understand.
That requires the individual, to my mind, to stop and introspect and put into context so that you can better able to regurgitate when you need to do so. But the question often is, how do we stop to take the time to introspect? Because we're such in a very hurried world.
Awareness. God in his infinite wisdom gave us two eyes, and we look out, we can see. I put it this way, we know everybody's business. We know what is going on with everyone because we're looking out. We don't spend enough time with introspection. We don't spend enough time with reflection. We don't spend enough time looking back. We don't spend enough time trying to understand, now, what did I just say? What did I just do? What thought did I just have? Where did that come from? What's driving that? So the first step in transitioning, that was the original question. The first step in transitioning to that place where we can take control of our emotions is first of all to become the observer of ourselves, the observer of our emotions. Have that awareness. What we say is that you can't change what you don't observe. So you have to become an observer of self. We say, watch yourself like a hawk. Pay attention to self. Pay attention to what is going on with you. And then stop. Stop, and you ask yourself, I know what thought arose. I know what feeling arose. I have a sense of where that's coming from. What are my options? So we're talking about transitioning from reacting to responding. If we react, if you hit me, I hit you back.
Yes.
If you don't speak to me, I don't speak to you. If we respond, we ask ourselves, what are my options? How can I possibly respond in this circumstance, to this person, to this experience, to this moment? And importantly, the third question is, what is it that I want? At the end of this moment, this experience, this day, this week, this month, in the long term, what is it that I'm seeking? What is it that I'm chasing? Because what I want is going to inform which of the options that are available to me I take.
So it's, again, unlearning to learn again. And
Unlearning,
so it's a
yes.
process that is constant and would need,
lifelong.
Yeah, lifelong and repetition. And so that's the thing. And you have to commit to wanting to change. And it's in that commitment that then you are able to make the next step and the next and the next. So you find yourself going forward as opposed to either standing still or regressing. And so you've formed a series of workshops to help us do this. Talk to me about what we can expect and when those workshops will be.
So it's more than workshops. What we have designed and put together is a national initiative. What informs that approach is Genesis 11 and verse 6. Genesis 11 treats to the building of the Tower of Babel, where the people in this city called Babel, in a moment in time said, let us build a tower that will reach from earth to heaven so that our fame will be known throughout the earth. So they knew what they wanted to achieve. They knew why they wanted to achieve it. And they built agreement around that intent and that purpose. What we have designed and what we're bringing to Barbados, we're saying, look, CISA, the Caribbean Institute for Social and Emotional Learning, yes, we can continue a class of 10, a class of 20, but reaching our goal of having 50,000 Barbadians practicing emotional intelligence. I will die and never achieve that. So what we want to do is to expand the number of persons who have this awareness, who understand the models that we're using, who understand the language within those models, so that in the spaces that they occupy. So you had rugby on just now. You have persons previously talking about issues around abuse. We have Alcoholics Anonymous, we have the cadets, we have the Scouts, all kinds of organizations seeking to make positive difference in people's lives. What we're saying is, here is a framework that if you understand and embrace this framework, in your space, in the goals that you are chasing within your organization, you can use this framework, these models, this language, to be able to embellish, enhance what you are doing as you seek to help people bring about change in their lives. So we have 6 elements that make up the program that we've designed and we roll out. We're going to launch on March the 3rd. March the 3rd is social and is internationally recognized as Social and Emotional Learning Day, SEL. So emotional intelligence, 2 seconds. Emotional intelligence is the skills to recognize, use, understand, and manage emotions. Those skills are self-awareness, self-regulation, self-control, self-discipline, however you want to put it, self-motivation, social awareness, and relationship building skills. Social and emotional learning is the process by which you acquire those skills of emotional intelligence. So coming back to the program that we designed and we're rolling out, there's 6 elements. What we have, and you have it on the screen, what we have developed, is a series of handbooks that are audience specific. So that there is an emotional intelligence handbook for students. There is a social and emotional learning handbook for educators. There is an emotional intelligence handbook for the parents. And there is an emotional intelligence handbook for the general public. What does that mean? That means that we're going to flood the place. Right now, social media is very pervasive. So people get to see and experience the good, the bad, and the ugly. What we're going to do is flood Barbados through the schools. We've made contact with over 100 organizations that we call them helping organizations. What you're seeing is the workbook. These workbooks are going to be distributed through the schools, clubs, organizations who, like us, are seeking to make a difference. So we expect we're going to print anywhere upwards of 250,000 of these workbooks. Obviously, different numbers for the different workbooks that have been developed.
Right.
We're also going to develop video content. This video content is going to be messaging and reinforcing the messages within the same handbooks. And they will then be used through social media, any number of platforms that we have access to. Posters are going to be available within the schools. We're going to produce a monthly newsletter that promotes and supports the development of emotional intelligence. We're going to run essays, speech contests, debates, quizzes, etc. Importantly, every summer, there are a number of persons who run summer camps. We're saying, no, we're not coming to the summer camps for 2 hours and then leave. We're going to provide training for those who run summer camps so that the message and the messaging that students are getting in school when they go to summer camps, hey, here's what, camp directors and camp counselors are speaking the same language, exhibiting the same behaviors. So we are reinforcing the whole concept of social emotional learning and emotional intelligence. Over the last 5 years, with the exception of 2020, we have run summer workshops, for teachers. We're going to continue doing that. We're going to try to run 3 of those this year. And importantly as well, we're going to reach out to the swath of what is now known as the third sector organizations, charities, any and all organizations that are, again, engaged in people and people development and people empowerment, and provide them with the same resources, the same tools, the same language, and the same training, so that we have certainly at least 10, 15, 20,000 people in Barbados who are like Tower of Babel.
Yes.
Made an agreement to contribute collectively to the change within Barbados. We know why we want to do it, and we're going to put our hands. So tonight, Wednesday, the 12th of February, we've invited those 100+ organizations to join us, where we will have an orientation for them. So we bring them into the know. And then on March the 3rd, we will have our official launch. The official launch comes off at the St. Leonard School, and we deliberately chose the St. Leonard School because the St. Leonard School is a prime example of what happens when adults are intentional in bringing change to people's lives. So we've reserved the St. Leonard School. So 2 o'clock on the 3rd of March, we're going to launch this initiative, Raising a More Emotionally Intelligent Generation. How do we help the generation that is behind?
Yes.
To walk a path where we've changed the conversation from all the crime and violence and lawlessness that is going on to a generation that goes on to fulfill its greatest potential, manifest all the gifts that God has deposited in them.
We love to see success stories. Is that captured within this whole concept as well? Because best example, best practices.
Yes. So we're going to be using local actors for videos, and the newsletter is intended to be that vehicle, that medium through which we promote success stories.
What I love is that you're able to help us in this series first understand our emotions and give them their appropriate name so that we know what it is that we are managing here. And then out of it, we can now understand whether it is to the left or to the right, and we make a decision. And that helps us to reach the destination. You know, I often say to people when they ask me, but what do? I always say, you know, your best decision is the one where you've considered all of the consequences, and the consequences with which you can live is your best decision. Because you will never have a perfect outcome.
I think I'm going to recruit you as one of our facilitators.
Listen, you can't afford me, Tony.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's all right. But you're come on.
My
you see,
humble apologies.
That's all right, my brother. But I'm in sync with everything you're talking about because I think it is important. I love how you are so fully encompassing everyone, the society, the parents, the schools,
Yes,
the individuals,
yes,
the children,
yes.
the church, the organizations, because it has to be all of us in this together. It can't be one sector trying to do it and the other is not in concert with it.
Yes. No one of us can solve the problems we're having.
Yes.
No one of us.
Yes.
It's going to require a collective effort. That question of it takes a village. It is going to take whole of country to turn Barbados around. Just want to comment, going back to what you said, because I want to drop this and leave this with your viewers. What we teach is if you can name your emotions,
Yes.
hear this, you can tame your emotions. That's the old question of being emotionally literate. Having the language to be able to express and explain your emotions. A lot of the violence that we see, a lot of the abuse, a lot of the neglect, a lot of the dysfunction that we see stems from a lack of the ability to first recognize, name, and express emotions. Yeah? So if you can name your emotions, you have become the observer, you've separated yourself from the emotions. If you can name your emotions, you can tame your emotions.
I like that. If you can name your emotions, you can tame your emotions. You're absolutely right on that score. So I'm excited about this. I can't wait to hear more as it unfolds. The launching is on the 3rd of March. And yeah, and so following that, then, of course, we will all see how it all plays out, and we will check in with you from time to time to get some updates, you know, what's being fed back, and what are the progress steps as well, the milestones that are reached as we go as well. So, Tony Alton, thank you so much for joining us. And you're not going to escape the question. If you found that you were a giant, what would be your biggest inconvenience? I mean, you're a tall man already.
So I have an advantage, because I've heard the question posed this morning about 7 or 8 different times, so I've had time to give it thought.
Yes.
And my answer is this. My biggest challenge will be the inability to have eye contact. I'm serious. What people don't recognize.
You're right.
I run workshops. With the advent of COVID and Zoom, etc., I do quite a bit of my work online now. And I ask, I beg, I plead, please turn on your cameras.
Yes.
Because we think that when we're communicating, it's our words. Words only constitute 7% of our communication.
Yes.
More of the meaning and the intent of our communication is had through our tone, and most importantly, through our body language. So that you remember Judge Judy? Look me in the eyes.
Oh yes. Listen, you're talking my language, you know, and that's my girl. The same Judge Judy. Look at me. She can see. You will see. And you're quite right on that. Boy, Tony and I are in sync in so many different ways.
The eyes, they say, are the window. The eyes, they say, are the window to the soul.
That's right.
So that ability to look the other person in the eye and communicate, powerful human experience.
Absolutely. We learned so much from you this morning, Tony Alton. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure. Right. Thanks for having me. All the best.
You're welcome. You too.
Morning, morning, morning.